Hello students, welcome to the lecture on training methods, and after this lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Understand the meaning, concept and principles of training, explain the methods of flexibility development, discuss the methods of strength development, define methods of endurance development, describe the methods of speed development. Let us discuss first a little about training. Physical education teachers and coaches teach players about the importance of warming up and cooling down. They also brief them about the safety measures and safety equipment used in sports. By following those guidelines, principles and precautions, the players can reduce chances of sports-related injuries and accidents. Proper methods of training in physical education are critical to overall health and well-being. Some physical education instructors use the FITT acronym, which stands for frequency, intensity, time and type, to help them remember the key factors when creating a training program for a particular sport or activity. Interval training. Training in this way combines extreme, vigorous periods of fast running or aerobic exercise with periods of slower running, allowing the athlete to recover a bit before resuming fast running. Circuit training. This type of training has similarities to interval training due to the use of hard periods of extreme exertion interspersed with short rest period in between each set of exercises. Weight trainings. Weight training will improve overall strength and mobility and works best when combined with circuit training. Now let us know the deeper meaning of training. Training in physical fitness and in skills requiring or promoting it. It generally includes calisthenics, gymnastics, various sports and some study of health. Physical education is intended to strengthen one's health and harmoniously develop the body. It improves one's physical attributes and skills, helps develop and perfect motor skills necessary in everyday life and work, and eventually leads to physical perfection. The importance of training in sports. The word training denotes the process of preparation for some task. This process invariably extends to a number of days and even months and years. Sports training is a planned and controlled process in which, for achieving a goal, changes in complex sports motor performance, ability to act, and behavior are made through measures of content, methods, and organization. Sports training are the basic form of preparation of sportsmen. Sports training is a scientifically based and pedagogically organized process which, through planned and systematic effect on performance ability and performance readiness, aims at sports perfection and performance improvement as well as at the contest in sports competition. Sports training is done for improving sports performance. The principles of training. The key principles when planning a program are specificity. Specificity is an important principle in strength training where the exercise must be specific to the type of strength required and is therefore related to the particular demands of the event. Overload. Fitness can only be improved by training more than we normally do. We must work hard. When an athlete performs a mobility exercise, he or she should stretch to the end of his/her range of movement. Progression. Start slowly and gradually increase the amount of exercise and keep overloading. Reversibility. Any adaptation that takes place as a result of training will be reversed when we stop training. Diminishing returns principle. When unfit athletes begin a training regime, their fitness levels improve rapidly. But as they become fitter, the diminishing returns principle becomes law. That is, an athlete becomes fitter, the amount of improvement is less as they approach their genetic limits. Variation principle. This principle has several meanings. After our athletes have trained hard for several days, they should train lightly to give their bodies a chance to recover. This principle also means that we should change the exercises or activities regularly so that we do not overstress a part of the body. Individual differences principle. Every athlete is different and responds differently to the same training activities. The value of training depends in part on the athlete's maturation. Stages of a training session. Warm-up. A warm-up is a session which takes place prior to doing physical activity. Usually a warm-up will consist of light cardiovascular exercises combined with stretches.
Итак, попробуем. Приготовились? Приготовьте руки для хлопка. Это же движение можно выполнить из поворота.
Benefits of a warm-up. Let's study the benefits of warm-up. Performance may be improved as an appropriate warm-up will result in an increased speed of contraction and relaxation of warmed muscles, Dynamic exercises reduce muscle stiffness, greater economy of movement because of lowered viscous resistance within warmed muscles, facilitated oxygen utilization by warmed muscles because hemoglobin releases oxygen more readily at higher muscle temperatures, facilitated nerve transmission and muscle metabolism at higher temperatures. A specific warm-up can facilitate motor unit recruitment required in subsequent all-out activity. Increased blood flow through active tissues as local vascular beds dilate, increasing metabolism and muscle temperatures. Allows the heart rate get to a workable rate for beginning exercise. Mentally focused on the training or competition. Main activity, fitness training, which may be linked to repeated technique work, skill development drills or team practices, modified or conditioned games, and also includes sports activities and the physical training. Warm down, sometimes called cool down, light exercise to help remove carbon dioxide, lactic acid and other waste products. Gentle stretching to prevent muscle soreness and stiffness later. Now we will discuss about flexibility development. Flexibility refers to the total range of motion of a joint or group of joints. Flexibility, which differs from person to person and from joint to joint, encompasses all components of the musculoskeletal system as well as specific neuromuscular pathways of the body. Dynamic flexibility is flexibility in motion. It is best developed through dynamic stretching. Dynamic stretching increase can be maximized when carried out daily, a couple of times a day. So if we want to reach full dynamic flexibility quicker or maximize this ability, it should also be done in the morning upon waking. Flexibility of the body ensures active lifestyle free from pain and injury. One can lose back pain, pain in joints and other muscles if he or she gains flexibility. We exercise regularly to maintain flexibility as it is much required in breakdancing and b-boying. The objective of flexibility training is to improve the range of movement of the antagonistic muscles. Methods of flexibility development. Static stretching method. Static stretching method involves gradually easing into the stretch position and holding the position. Dynamic stretching method. Dynamic stretching consists of controlled leg and arm swings that take we gently to the limit of our range of motion. Proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation technique. This technique or method is used by advanced sportspersons for gaining flexibility. PNF involves the use of muscle contraction before the stretch in an attempt to achieve maximum muscle relaxation. There are many forms one may regain flexibility. The following are some common methods used to increase flexibility. Passive stretch. This is the most common method of stretching. During a passive stretch, one takes a muscle to a position at which a stretch is felt. The position is most often held still for 20 to 30 seconds. Active stretch. During an active stretch, one set of muscles contracts and by doing so stretches its opposing set of muscles. Let's discuss strength development in detail. Strength development is an extremely important an aspect of physical fitness and sports conditioning. The desire to be strong is a main reason that many people join a gym. Strength is the maximal amount of force that a muscle or group of muscles can generate in a particular movement pattern in a specific movement velocity. Types of strength. Absolute strength. Absolute strength is the ability to lift a weight one time with little or no regard to how fast it is lifted. This is the classic perception of what strength is. Functional strength. In simple terms, functional strength is having enough strength to do what we need to do throughout normal day. It does not require us to qualify by lifting a specific amount of weight. It does not focus on isolating muscle groups like a bodybuilder would. Strength endurance. Strength endurance refers to staying power or the ability to endure long bouts of high intensity strength efforts. It is the ability of an athlete to have as much energy left at the end of the fourth quarter as he or she did in the first. Methods of strength development. Isometric method. An isometric stretch is a type of static stretch which resistance of groups of the stretched muscles is added at, abbreviating them. For example, resisting a leg in a wall to move it. Motion of wall does not take place, but a muscle is strained. This type of stretch is more active for development of passive flexibility and force. It can execute him through a partner, equipment, own hands, utilize a wall, half supports. Isotonic method. Many people confuse isotonic exercise with isometric exercise. With isometric exercise, we contract and hold a muscle. With isotonic exercise, we perform muscle contractions against a steady source of resistance. Lifting weights is one example of isotonic exercise. Isotonic exercise methods. Weightlifting. Both free weights and machines provide the ideal method for isotonic exercise. Body resistance. If we do not have access to weights, then we can perform resistance exercises utilizing just the weight of our own body. These types of exercises include pull-ups, push-ups, crunches, squats, and lunges. Resistance bands. Resistance bands serve as another space and equipment saver. These elastic bands typically have handles on the ends, and we can perform a variety of exercises with them. Kettlebells. The latest fitness fad, kettlebells provide an intense isotonic workout. These weighted balls with handles not only provide isotonic training, but can also provide a cardiovascular workout as well as improving core strength, coordination, and balance. Isotonic exercise provides many benefits. Strengthens, tones, and builds muscle, improves 2 of the 5 components of physical fitness, muscle strength and muscular endurance. As we increase muscle mass, our metabolism increases slightly as well. Relieves stress, promotes better sleep, provides a better aesthetic appearance. Comparison between isometric and isotonic methods. Isometric weightlifting involves holding a weight in a static position. The muscle does not contract through a range of motion, but it is contracted and held in place. Flexing muscles is an example of an isometric contraction that does not involve weights. Isotonic weightlifting involves moving a weight through a range of motion, like doing a biceps curl or a bench press. This is the most common way in which people lift weights. The objective of endurance training is to develop the energy production systems to meet the demands of the event. Muscular endurance is the ability of our muscles to generate submaximal force for extended periods of time without suffering undue fatigue. There are 4 types of endurance training, and a sound knowledge of each type of training is of paramount importance to all endurance runners and coaches. Aerobic endurance. Aerobic means with oxygen. During aerobic training, the runner's body is working at a level that the demands for oxygen and fuel can be met by the body's intake. Anaerobic endurance. Anaerobic means without oxygen. During anaerobic work, involving maximum effort, The body is working so hard that the demands for oxygen and fuel exceed the rate of supply, and the muscles have to rely on the stored reserves of fuel. Speed endurance. Speed endurance is used to develop the coordination of muscle contraction. Strength endurance. Strength endurance is used to develop the capacity to maintain the quality of our muscles' contractile force. All athletes need to develop a basic level of strength endurance. Methods of endurance development. Now moving on to the methods of endurance development one by one. Continuous method. Continuous training is the simplest form of training. As the name suggests, it involves training with no rest periods or recovery intervals. This type of training is a good way to improve our aerobic energy system. Swimming, running, and cycling are common examples of continuous training activities. The benefits of continuous training include loss of body fat, stronger heart muscles, and higher energy levels. Athletes take advantage of this form of training to prepare for sport competitions and other events, but ordinary individuals can often experience health benefits as well. Interval method. Interval training involves following a fixed pattern of periods of strenuous exercise alternated with periods of rest or light activity. It can be used to gradually improve pace or train for sports like football and hockey, where bursts of speed are required. Interval training should be planned carefully. The duration and intensity of the exercise and the length of the rest periods must be calculated to suit the performer's level of fitness. Interval running enables the athlete to improve the workload by interspersing heavy bouts of fast running with recovery periods of slower jogging. Fartlek method. This form of training takes its name from a type of program developed in Scandinavia. The word means speed play, and this describes the way the method works. Fartlek is very similar to continuous training, but also includes short, sharp bursts of effort at a much higher intensity. The advantages of fartlek training are that it can be adapted easily to suit the individual, reflects the pattern of games that have a regular change of pace, example football, hockey. Now moving on to the last topic for this lecture, methods of speed development. The methods for developing speed and agility can be categorized as primary or secondary. Primary method. The primary method for speed and agility development is execution of sound movement technique in a specific task. Initially, athletes should perform tasks at sub-maximal learning speeds to establish proper mechanics. As they progress towards mastery, task performance can approach or exceed full competition speed. Secondary methods. Secondary methods of speed and agility training include sprint resistance and sprint assistance. These target the development of special skills in modified performance conditions. Circuit training. Circuit training is an excellent way to improve mobility, strength, and stamina. The circuit training comprises of 6 to 10 strength exercises that are completed one exercise after another. Circuit training is a highly effective and adaptable method of improving strength, endurance, and aerobic capacity. Advantages of circuit training are: develop strength and endurance, appropriate form of training for most sports, can be adjusted to suit age, fitness, and health of the athlete. Exercises are simple enough to make each athlete feel a sense of achievement in completing them. A wide range of exercises to select from, which will maintain the athlete's enthusiasm. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Weight training will improve overall strength and mobility and works best when combined with circuit training. A warm-up is a session which takes place prior to doing physical activity. Usually a warm-up will consist of light cardiovascular exercises combined with stretches. Diminishing returns principle. When unfit athletes begin a training regime, their fitness levels improve rapidly, but as they become fitter, the diminishing returns principle becomes law. That is, as athletes become fitter, the amount of improvement is less as they approach their genetic limits. Variation principle. This principle has several meanings. After our athletes have trained hard for several days, they should train lightly to give their bodies a chance to recover. This principle also means that we should change the exercises or activities regularly so that we do not overstress a part of the body. Individual differences principle. Every athlete is different and responds differently to the same training activities. The value of training depends in part on the athlete's maturation. Specificity is an important principle in strength training where the exercise must be specific to the type of strength required and is therefore related to the particular demands of the event. Sports training is a planned and controlled process in which, for achieving a goal, changes in complex sports motor performance, ability to act and behavior are made through measures of content, methods and organization. Flexibility refers to the total range of motion of a joint or group of joints. Flexibility, which differs from person to person and from joint to joint, encompasses all components of the musculoskeletal system as well as specific neuromuscular pathways of the body. Absolute strength is the ability to lift a weight one time with little or no regard to how fast it is lifted. Strength is the maximum amount of force that a muscle or group of muscles can generate in a particular movement pattern in a specific movement velocity. The primary method for speed and agility development is execution of sound movement technique in a specific task. Initially, athletes should perform tasks at sub-maximal learning speeds to establish proper mechanics. As they progress towards mastery, task performance can approach or exceed full competition speed.